tune in with a moment of silence and invite everyone joining the space with Jude and myself, where we connect with the field of conscious evolution and everybody who is joining this gathering. And where we align ourselves to be available that what might be relevant for everybody will come to the surface and will be addressed in our conversation for the benefit of all, of everybody who is watching this video and listening to the audio, so that we are as much as possible supported in uplifting our own frequency and the whole field, and supporting humanity evolving into the next level of what is possible for us now. So I warmly welcome you, Jude Currivan, into this field and into the Conscious Evolution Summit.
Thank you, Puria. It's a delight to be with you and everyone. And what an incredible moment for us to be having this conversation and the other conversations between us. And you just talked about lifting up. And this is such a vital time, I feel, for us to link up and lift up together.
Thank you so much, Jude. And I just will read a brief introduction about you for people who haven't read about you or heard from you. So Dr. Jude Currivan is a cosmologist, planetary healer, futurist, previously a senior international businesswoman and author of several books, but lately of the award-winning The Cosmic Hologram, in Formation at the Center of Creation, integrating leading-edge science, consciousness, and supernormal research and universal wisdom teachings in a paradigm of unified reality. She's a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, co-founder of Whole World View, and co-convener of Unity Community, a growing global network of transformational change makers. And many change makers will be in this summit. So I hope we can inspire you in the audience and really create a field where we support our own growth and the growth and the transformation and the change in the society. And there we are right in the topic, Jude. So maybe to start with, I would love to get, I know it might be a challenge, but to get a brief summary. What does a cosmic hologram mean? What does it mean on an individual level? And also kind of when we zoom out in a bigger perspective, what does this hologram mean for us?
That's a great question. And of course, encapsulating it very briefly. Just take a step back, Puria, if I may. It seems to me that we're struggling with two diseases at the moment. One is called COVID-19, and we're looking for a vaccine. But the deeper disease is of our fragmented worldview, our perception of the nature of reality itself. And mainstream science has told us that the world is made up of separate things. And essentially, it doesn't have intrinsic meaning. That our universe began nearly 14 billion years ago with a big bang, which chaotic. And there's been an accidental process of evolutionary process ever since that's come to us, and that somehow our minds arise from the materiality of our brains. That is a worldview of separation. And when our worldview drives our behaviors, so if we believe a world of separation and solar materiality, then we'll behave accordingly. So in that perspective, conflicts, inequalities, injustices are unnatural, because if the world is separate, it's scarce, it's frightening. But that worldview is fundamentally wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. And we know that in our hearts. Wisdom teachings have always told us that. Spiritual experiences have always shown us that. But collectively, we've bought into this myth of separation. And it's a dream that's become a nightmare. And we're now waking up from that nightmare of apparent separation to realize that actually our universe exists and evolves as a unified entity. And it's not an entity, it's not a reality that is solely materialistic. In fact, we could argue that it's not materialistic at all. That instead of us having a mind and consciousness, we are mind and consciousness, as is the whole world. So our universe, we're discovering, and these are based on scientific discoveries of all scales and numerous fields of research, that reality is unified, multidimensional and unified. And our universe began not in a big bang, because it wasn't big and it wasn't a bang. It was minute, but it was incredibly fine-tuned, exquisitely so. So it began as the first moment of a big breath. And space has expanded and time has flowed ever since. So the appearance of our universe, space and time, energy and matter, emerges from deeper realms of cosmic consciousness and intelligence and meaning. But the way it does so, the way that cosmic mind has created this incredible adventure we call our universe, is as a cosmic hologram. And just as a hologram, the whole of a hologram is found in every tiny part of it, and every part is part of the whole, so are we and so is our universe. So every level, and what that means is that fundamentally we're interconnected. We're more so. It's like the fingers on our hand. They're interconnected, but they're part of the hand. It's like the trillions of cells of our body is a community. So we are cells of our universe's body. And a universe that exists to evolve from simplicity to complexity. So the hologram is an incredible way, the simplest way possible, because it's woven by light, the cosmic mind, to create the appearance, this beautiful appearance of what we call our universe. And of course it means that the me and the we and the all are different, diverse expressions of this incredible thought, this incredible adventure we call our universe.
Lovely. I get goosebumps when I tune into this beautiful explanation. And maybe you can also share about what it also then means, because you write in the book also that it's information. So something comes into form, and maybe how does this work? How we receive information, and in the other way we also give information into the field. And maybe you can talk a bit about these two directions and what is our part in it and what is the play in that.
I'd love to. Well, first of all, I put a hyphen between in and formation. So Going back a step, we're speaking in English at the moment, and the English language is made up of 26 letters, and each of themselves doesn't have any meaning, A, B, C, D, etc. But when we put them together, we form words. And when we put those words together, we form sentences and paragraphs and songs and plays and books. And so we start off with something that ostensibly doesn't have any meaning, but we build meaning from it. Our universe is far cleverer than we are because it doesn't need 26 letters. It has 2 letters. And those letters are the ones and zeros of digitized information, exactly the same digital language that all our technologies use. But the universe begins from these 2 letters, but from those 2 letters, it also builds meaning. But the meaning is not in English or a human language. It's the meaning of number and geometry and music. It's the language of energy and matter and space and time. But it's a more fundamental language. And because it's information, because it's meaningful in formation, it's arising from these deeper realms of causation of consciousness. And so we are informed, the whole universe is informed. That's what we sometimes call the field. But recently, we've tended to see the field as some sort of energetic form of consciousness. Consciousness literally expresses itself, speaks through this digitized information field. And because it's meaningful information, and because we're part of it, we are, as you say, always radiating and receiving. We're transducers, we're moderators, but we're always doing it whether we know or not. Our thoughts and our emotions have effects on our biology. What we think, what we feel, what we speak, all radiates to and fro. So we're always in communication. Reality is relativity, it's all relational within the cosmic hologram that we call our universe. So the thing is, what do we choose to radiate? What do we choose to receive? And a lot of that is dependent on our worldview. If we buy into a world of separation, all of that, we'll both radiate from that place and receive into that place. But if we actually, spiritual experiences, as wisdom teachings, as now leading edge science is telling us, we are actually part of unified reality, of unity expressed in incredible diversity.
Beautiful. What just came to my mind is also when we talk also about this, what we call reality, and often we are just limiting it to what we can see and touch, and it's much, much bigger. But how does this term, which is also in wisdom tradition, use this lila or maya or illusion, yet it's so prominent in our world and how we structure everything, so it has an impact. It's not just that it's not there, but what is the illusion and what is the real in it?
Well, first of all, you can also translate maya as partial. So instead of saying, oh, this reality is illusory, I would suggest that we see it as being a partial representation of a much grander, multidimensional universe and cosmos. What is illusory is the appearance of separation. And in a way, wisdom teachings realize that the appearance of separation is actually very important. But it's when we buy into that it's separate rather than it's differentiating. What unity does, and this is beautifully spoken of in I Ching, I Ching says in the beginning is the one becomes the two becomes the three, and from the three, 10,000 things are born. So that understanding of unity expressing itself through differentiation, diversity, is wonderful, because then we can wonder at the abundance and the sheer exuberance of a universe where no snowflake is the same, where no leaf on any tree is the same, where no person is the same, and yet we're all part of that whole. The challenge and the difficulty is when we go beyond that to really buy into the appearance rather than the useful differentiation, wonderful differentiation. We say, no, no, I'm separate from you, we're separate from them. And that then literally causes so much conflict and inequalities, as I've said, and fear-based behaviors. Because if we're separate, I don't know you, I don't really see you, and so I fear you. Whereas if instead we appreciate we're all part of this incredible, unified, joyful world, and expressed in each in our unique ways, to be able to come together joyfully, like, you know, the different notes of a symphony, or the different words in a poem, and that's what our world is. It's a world of music and resonance and harmony and poetry and abundance and benevolence. And we've shut ourselves off from so much of our cosmic heritage, because that is, we're the inheritors of this amazing universe that began nearly 14 billion years ago in the simplest form possible, and has evolved. Its evolutionary impulse brought us to this.
Lovely. And when we now really align with this impulse, and when we be instrument of that, letting this move through us, what do you see? What supports us individually or as a whole global family in being in service for that kind of this direction, which is anyways there, and or let's put it another way, could we miss it? Could we don't make it? Oh, maybe we open a bigger possibility, not just assuming that we can evolve and it will happen, but could it also not happen? So maybe just share your thoughts on that.
Yes, it might not happen. My sense is that the universe and our beloved planetary home Gaia would continue without us. But we do have an opportunity, not just to wake up, but to as Ken Wilber talks of, to wake up, to grow up, to clean up, because the illusion of separation has caused so much trauma within our collective psyche. So for us to even be able to move on, as a healer, I know that, you know, treating the symptoms of dis-ease will moderate it, but it won't help it move on. We need to go back to the causes of a dis-ease and heal it from that place. And the cause of our collective dis-ease is this illusion, the mistaken belief in a world of separation. So, and I think we're in the process of healing that, but we're in a healing crisis at the moment. What I do feel is, again, as a healer, I know that if somebody's in denial that they even have a dis-ease, they can't begin a healing journey. And I think what we've seen this year, and of course, the COVID virus has just been absolutely extraordinary in stopping us in our tracks. And I could talk for hours about all sorts of consciousness and symbolism of that. But it's enabled us, it's given us an opportunity to just stop for a period of time with all the challenges and maybe reflect. And I feel that potentially coming out of that is a huge potential for change, and hopefully a recognition and an experience, not just an understanding, but experiencing and embodying more and more of us this sense of unity in diversity. It seems to me if we don't allow ourselves, enable ourselves, choose to do this on every level, our behaviors, our dysfunctional behaviors are unsustainable. One way or another, I think the human adventure, the human journey is likely to come And some people say that to me and say, well, you know, Gaia will go on. She may not in the way that she would have done, because we've caused so much damage that if climate change and runaway climate change, which is a possibility, happens, then her own evolutionary impulse could be put back millions of years, literally millions of years. And yet that doesn't have to happen. On the contrary, we really do have, I feel, a moment of choice, and perhaps our final moment of choice. And when we do wake, grow, clean, and show up, we can link up. And there is so much genius in our collective psyche. If we can help each other do that and come together, then I do feel we can evolve consciously. And I do feel that is what we are aligning with. And I do feel that's what our entire universe and our beloved Gaia is inviting us to do. And that means that beyond being children of Gaia, we could potentially evolve consciously to be her co-evolution partner, and the co-evolution partner of our entire universe going forward. What an adventure would that be? And what help do we have? We have so much support, multidimensional support, support that we peripheralize or not listen to. The voice of Gaia, the voice of her multidimensional children, the voice of the cosmos. We have so much support.
Lovely. I mean, that's such a huge stream just flowing in, and that would have been kind of my next question, maybe really addressing some of these sources of support a bit more detailed, so that we can really become aware, because often it's maybe in the subtlety, yet it can be very powerful. Sometimes it's in the obvious and we still overlook it. So maybe you can really just share a few sources of support you are aware of.
Well, first of all, we also need to understand that our universe exists and evolves as a unified entity. So although within space-time, time flows, therefore there is a process of causality. Otherwise, how would we experience, how would we be able to even have a thought or finish a sentence? But because our universe is what's called non-locally interconnected, it means that it knows itself totally in every moment. And we are part of its intelligence and its non-local connectivity. So we have access to non-local phenomena, non-local wisdom, non-local guidance. And that's often called, it's been called supernatural, it's been called paranormal. It's not, it's supernormal. It's part of our, it's part of who we are, it's part of our natural way of being. But we shut down so much of it. So at its very simplest, we have incredible intuitive powers. We have supernormal powers. At the perhaps the simplest and yet the most profound is our intuition, our knowingness of something that doesn't come through the head, but it comes through us utterly. All our distributed intelligence is helping us to understand something. And so we have that. We also have, within a non-locally connected universe, the phenomenon of synchronicities. And yet, as you say, Puria, we something comes forward, and instead of paying attention to it, we go. I would really invite everyone to really pay attention and honor our intuitive powers and the way showers that are synchronicities. And then beyond those, we have the ability to telepathically communicate, the ability to view remotely, so much. But also, our world and reality is multidimensional. Gaia is a sentient, multidimensional being. So just being in the natural world, we have access to that wisdom, that multidimensional wisdom that some people call the fairy realms, or, you know, Findhorn community. They've been communicating with these other realms, these other natural realms, for over half a century. and they guide us. So elemental beings, angelic beings, archetypal intelligences, all traditions other than our Western secular, so-called science-based societies have honored these communications, this guidance. And it's available to us if we're willing to open ourselves to engage with it. And I've done that all my life. So for me, it's just part of who I am and how I live. And it's enriched my life and guided my life to an enormous extent, and still.
Yeah, and I would say I can relate a lot to that because it's also part for me since I can remember back. And I would say that that's very natural, and that's kind of, it's always there. And there is also kind of a simplicity in that when I listen to that. But yet, in the time we are living now, we also have this enormous complexity. And when we look at technology, what is happening there and how this is growing, expanding, and the possibilities there. So maybe you can address also the relevance of that, and not maybe totally turning away from this development, or maybe helping us, guide us. What supports us in this emergence of technical complexity and possibilities, and what do we need to be aware of, and what is maybe not so supportive in that?
I think that's a very, very important question. And I would say that it isn't about turning away from anything. One of the great sort of ways of science is that it includes and transcends. It includes and transcends. And having done a lot of work healing with folks on both archetypal and personal levels, we don't leave the past behind. It journeys on with us. And so, but it's a question of what do we leave behind? And it's about, do we leave behind what no longer serves us? What actually the traumas that we've held that, you know, unless we can heal from within, we can't go forward. It's too heavy a burden to carry forward. So for me, the process of evolutionary impulse has moves from simplicity to complexity. So our universe, from the most simple of foundations, has created this abundance of differentiation and diversity. But it's complex, it's not complicated. Humans make life complicated. In my experience.
That's an important differentiation.
I was once told that a plate of spaghetti is complex, but a car engine is complicated. So really, for us going forward, because these are intense times, they are turbulent times, and will continue, I feel, to be turbulent, just as a birth process is turbulent. And it seems to me that we are in a birth process, a potential birthing process, where we can't go back, we can only go forward. But the question is, what do we take forward with us? And so, again, on a personal basis, for me, it's how do I nurture resilience within me, well-being within me? Because when I do that, then I can reach out and serve that in others. But if I'm not resilient, if I'm distracted or anxious or fearful or whatever, I can't help others. We talked earlier about the radiation and, you know, the out and the in breath of what we give and what we receive. So if we're in that place of fear, we radiate it and we receive it. But if we're in that understanding of love, and you know, the whole worldview, what I write about in the Cosmic Hologram, is the cosmology of consciousness. It's a science of love. It's the science of the evidence that integrates with spirituality and wisdom teachings into this literal whole world view of reality and who we are. So if we can, more than we can, because it is a choice, to offer ourselves space and time so that we can go in and we can literally remember that one. We can then step forward into that. And we spoke earlier about how when we're sitting on a meditation cushion, it's quite straightforward really to feel that. But when we're in the middle of so much intensity, but that's our lesson, it seems to me. Those are the lessons that progressively we can learn. And we learn them together. We learn them through mutuality of support, it seems to me, when we link up and lift up. We don't have to do this alone. In fact, we can't do it alone. And we have not just our human family that can come together, but we have all of that incredible multidimensional guidance that supports us. But we have to nurture ourselves. Because if we don't, we're not going to grow up. If we're still looking to gurus, we're not going to guru up ourselves. So this feels really, really key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this really also, yeah, you said it before also, not being the children of Mother Earth, but really coming into this position where we are mature co-creators. I also sense that is the next contribution, that we really move towards that. And what I also sense also when I'm now listening to you, and when we address this include and transcend, and also this process of being in complexity, I often also sense that even in my brain there is an expansion happening, and another connections are coming into place. So it can feel quite physical also, what is difficult to express. And I assume that many people which are listening to our conversation maybe have similar experiences, where they really kind of have an experience of, oh, there is really something going on in my physical body. It's changing. I feel it a lot in my head, but can also be digestions or other issues. And maybe you can also just talk a bit about that, maybe from your personal experience, or then how also to be with that, because often you can't really tell something, graspable what is happening, but it's happening inside and in the invisible, and yet it can be it can impact our life also a lot. So maybe you are a few weeks not able to go to work, you feel maybe tired, you need more sleep or whatsoever. So maybe also have a look at that really personal stuff, which is part of this incredible transformation we are in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, how could it not be? On the basis that all that we are, our thoughts, our emotions, our physical body, is profoundly interconnected with everything, and fundamentally unified. Yeah. So it's expecting, for one finger not to affect the other fingers. It cannot not be. I'd also like to go back a tiny bit to what you were saying about technology. And again, without any judgment, anything that humans in our cleverness and our intelligence have invented for many, many years, can offer us benefits and downsides. And technology is no different. It's how we use technology. It's our discernment around technology. I made a choice quite some years ago not to go on social media. It didn't resonate with me. I just didn't feel, if I wanted to speak to a friend or a family member, I'd pick up the phone or write a letter or send an email or shout out the door. So it's a wonderful thing. Social media can be wonderful, but it can also be incredibly detrimental. So for me, it's both on personal and collective levels. Our discernment. Instead of judging what do we feel is right for us, what resonates with us, And that's whether it's, going back to your point, whether it's diet, whether it's a need to rest, whether it's a need to get out and be in nature. You know, that sense of really hearing and listening to what supports our well-being is even more, I mean, it's always important, but even more important, because that's how we, nurturing our well-being nurtures our resilience. And that's the well-being, not just, you know, physically, but mentally and emotionally, and of course spiritually. So it's how do we do that? And there are so many ways and opportunities now for us to, you know, reach out with each other, to support each other, to link up and lift up with each other. We don't need to feel alone. We don't need to feel that we don't have support. Because we do.
Lovely. And just another thought popped in. Even though we might be jump a bit, but at the end it will create a lovely tapestry. So I just recalled the term change makers in the beginning, and what I often recognize in this area of people really kind of doing voluntary work and are in this change agent scenery, and often people kind of, they leave, so to speak, secure jobs where they have a good salary because it doesn't feel well anymore. And many people in this area really have difficulties to sustain their living, because maybe it's still in the mainstream and in the whole worldview, the old professions are still more supported than this. But maybe you can talk a bit about that, maybe give us a bigger picture of that, why this is still the case, and yeah, how we can really still stay on track, even though it means maybe stepping into more insecurity or having less money, or what supports us, how differently can we be in that maybe we can also be in such roles and services, also tapping into more abundance. Because I noticed that in this helping roles, areas, quite a lot, that people have difficulty to have enough money to sustain themselves and their families.
That has been a challenge, I think, for many, many years, as we've all been sort of navigating our way through change that's progressively ramping up in the sense of its turbulence and its radical change. So we've got to a point where small steps of change, iterative change, really hasn't brought us to where, as a human family, we need to be. And it's radical change now that's needed, because all of our structures are based on this myth of separation. All the hierarchies, or, you know, or the way we educate our children, our economic system, all of it over hundreds of years has been built from this myth of separation. So we're in a breakdown of that at the moment. But what the evolutionary impulse of our universe does, and has done so on Gaia for the last 4 billion years or so, is when there's a breakdown, there's also the potential for a breakthrough. But as Einstein so famously said, that breakthrough can't come from the same awareness as caused the problems in the first place. Yeah? But I think what's being birthed, and I see it in young people, I see it in so much of what we're doing. There are so many more people coming forward to link and lift up on this. But of course, we're navigating this potential bridge between the old paradigm and the new paradigm on a lived basis. We're the generations that are trying to find our way through this time of metamorphosis. And so a few things. First of all, I realize that a lot of people just want to escape. The difficulty with that is that if we escape, we're not able to help others, ourselves really, and others through this time of change. And we also have more flexibility for many of us than perhaps was the case in past generations to try and find some balance and some way of navigating forward. So it might be that we're a teacher or we're an accountant or we work in a supermarket or whatever it may be. But we also have the opportunity to go to a yoga class. Now it's online, of course, or a fitness class, or maybe walk in nature. We have opportunities, if we choose to take them, that actually does allow us to move forward. And I think the other thing is on the money side, a healthy relationship with money recognizes that it's a flow. It's when it stagnates that it is problematic. So whether that's someone building a big amount of savings because they fear for what might come, or feeling scarcity. For me, in the mid-90s, I was earning $500,000 a year in business. And I think if I'd have stayed, I'd have probably been earning $5 million a year or more now. I chose then to move away from that life, not to escape, but because I felt called into something else, something that was calling me, and I answered that call. And my experience is when we're not trying to escape, but where we're really answering the call, then we are so looked after. And, you know, I was wearing designer clothes and diddly, and I didn't need any of it. I didn't need any of it. It was just a sort of a way of sort of clothing myself, really not for myself. And when I realized that, in answering that call of transformation of my own life, I also let go of a lot that I really didn't serve me and I didn't need. And my needs have always been met. My wants, different thing. But now my needs and my wants are pretty much together, so that's okay.
Yeah, that's also my experience, because I also had several years where financially there was not a lot of abundance, but I never felt it because I had a good life. I enjoyed my cup of tea. It's simple. I still live in the yurt because I love it. And I always say, you could give me $10 million. I wouldn't leave my yurt because it's just a place which feels beautiful right now. Yeah, wonderful. And Jude, so I would like to kind of really make our focus now bigger. We went into society and also in the details in the person, and now I want to have a bigger look even out of our planet, because some also say, and maybe some of us also sense, that we really receive also input and support and guidance from energy, from frequency, from beings, however you want to call it, from out of this planet. And I would like to, that you talk a bit of that, how you perceive that and which relevance you see us opening to that. And maybe you can even give some examples of what you receive in your connection with this realm, so to speak.
Well, certainly. I mean, we have access to our entire universe and the multidimensionality of our entire universe. So it's really, for me, it's rather like consciousness as a tall building. And if you can have a sense, we might be in our human perception, we're on the ground floor, but we have access to all the different levels of that consciousness, or certainly to some of them. As our awareness expands, as our vibrational frequency increases, then it's rather like taking the elevator, the lift, to different levels. And this isn't about judging higher or lower. It's just different levels of awareness and intelligence that are all pervasive. And so for me, I've been communicating, engaging with those different levels of archetypal intelligence and cosmic awareness, as well as the sentience of Gaia, for many, many years, virtually all my life. So it's been an ongoing journey, but it's our innate heritage, it's who we are. And just opening ourselves to listening to our intuition or noticing a synchronicity and following it. In my experience, when we take a step, the universe takes a step towards us. Take another step, another step. So as we expand our awareness, we have more and more access to this guidance, which is, of course, what spiritual seekers and wisdom keepers have taken these journeys for millennia. But it seems to me that at this time, we collectively, as a species, as a human family, can consciously evolve where such communications become a lived and natural experience in our lives. I don't see this as somehow we're going to do this. It's more about doing this and bringing these incredible expansive and expanded realms of consciousness and guidance and support into our lived experience of being a human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by that the term embodiment also comes, because more and more, let's say, networks and traditions and courses are really addressing that it's really about bringing it into also maybe
Embodiment.
Yeah, and when I maybe come again to this image you said, we have many floors in this building, really kind of living in everything, so alivening all the floors and being a whole building, not just living down there or up there.
Or the ground floor. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So bringing awareness and life and joy and impulses really from these different realms we have access to. So basically really acknowledging our multidimensional beingness and applying it and exercising it and sharing it.
Exactly. Naturalizing it. As you say, making it a natural, integral way of being, where it's as natural as breathing. We don't think about our breathing, we just breathe. You know, our hearts beat, we don't think about our hearts beating. So, communicating and living in this way, and being so grateful for the opportunity, to be able to make a choice to do this, because it is a choice. Because it's who we really are. It's a choice to step into that wholeness, that potential. The next stage of our journey as divine beings, having a human experience, and to do so together.
Lovely. Oh, I enjoyed this flow together very much, and my sense is we really put the focus on different areas, so we paid respect to our multidimensional beingness in this conversation. And maybe, Jude, you can address at the end of when people are interested to dive more into what you have to share. Of course, your books are a brilliant way. So I read the Cosmic Hologram. I tried it in English, but in some parts it was too difficult. So I bought it in German as well. And it's brilliant. I love it. And you are also part of the Evolutionary Leader Circle. So there a lot is offered and happening. Also what you mentioned is a new book, Our Moment of Choice. There's also a panel in this Conscious Evolution Summit with some of the authors. And then there is this whole worldview network also. Maybe you can tell a bit more what's it about? Is it possible to kind of share it, to be part of it?
Yes, 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 all of the above. We at Whole World, it's wholeworld-view.org, and people can go there and sign up for our newsletter and become very much part of our community. We're also on Facebook. I say I'm not on social media personally, but Whole World View is. We have YouTube channels, so there's lots of resources on wholeworld-view.org to get involved, to participate, to share the word, and be part of this growing movement of unity, and very much unity and diversity. Because that's the genius, that's the joy, that's the wonderment of linking up and lifting up together to go forward. So that's probably the easiest way of getting involved.
Mm-hmm. And any last word or message you want to send out into the field of all the people joining in the Conscious Evolution Summit, Jude?
It's all about love. It's all love. You know, Whole Worldview is a science of love, but it's a science of love to be not just understood, but experienced and embodied.
Beautiful. So I see really this frequency in all floors of the building.
Lighting up.
And out of the building into the villages, the cities, the globe. Beautiful. And basically just relaxing, surrendering into that frequency, because it's already effortless there. We are that. It's animating us. It's moving through us. It's not complicated. I mean, often I have a bit, say, a bit worries, because there are so much courses and material out there which say there you can learn it, but this seems to make it more complicated than it is.
Exactly. Exactly.
So just surrender into it, flow in it, be informed by it, and yeah.
And live it.
Live
and
it.
love.
Thank you so much, Jude. It was really an honor to have you here in the summit. So, because I personally love a lot what you share, and you as a person, you as a scientist, you in networking. So it's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to put questions there, to receive your answers, to be able to listen to you. Thank you so much, Jude.
Oh, Puria, thank you so much. And my love to you, and my love to everyone who's taking part in this incredible summit, and love and best wishes. And I'm just delighted we're companions on this journey home.
Same here. So thank you to all of you who are joining our conversation. We are kind of right in the beginning of the summit when you watch that, and I hope you will join in for other interviews. And if you like what you see and you feel inspired and uplifted, so please share with your friends so that the field is really growing. And also check out Jude's website and her books. I highly can recommend it, and see you in the next conversation.